Hello and welcome to the Popcorn Junkies. I've got my funky get cool with the fucking kids hat on because I'm doing a review now of Charli XCX's The Moment. Yes, A24's mockumentary directed by Aidan Zamiri. I have no knowledge of Aidan Zamiri at all, other than I do know my girls are big fans of his pop videos. I think perhaps he directs, shoots some of Charli XCX's videos himself. So it's his first feature-length film. It's made for A24 and it's got a roster. The cast is amazing. Obviously, it stars the eponymous hero, Charli XCX. It also stars Rosanna Arquette, Desperately Seeking Susan and After Hours and all the rest of it. We've also got Alexander Skarsgård in there too. Cameos from the likes of Kylie Jenner. This is, as I say, it's a mockumentary. So in no small way, think of films like This Is Spinal Tap, Pop Star, Wanna Keep Believing, whatever that one was. I can never remember the full title of that film. But, you know, there's a tradition of rock music based mockumentaries. But this one pivots around the real character of Charli XCX. And so, in a weird way, bear that in mind, because on the one hand, I think one of the strengths of this film, what makes it work so well, is Charli XCX being in on the joke. But also, one of the aspects, I think, of this film that fundamentally perhaps means it doesn't work as effectively as I think it could have done, is the fact that she plays a character, herself, obviously, that's very close to who she is in real life. I wondered whether what we perhaps needed was an extension of her, or a satirical version of her, or a sort of, exaggerated version of the real Charli XCX. Anyway, it's set at the end of Brat Summer. I mean, forgive me, I'm not a Charli XCX fan. I'm not Gen Z, all the rest of it. But this is a film about Gen Z pop music, and really, it's a film about the tension in an artist's life between doing the music, the rock star lifestyle, having had huge success with an album that she basically made in her own room without any interference from, management or labels or A&R people and all the rest of it. She just made it, and then suddenly it becomes public property and everyone wants a slice of the action. Amazon wants to make a documentary, Atlantic want to do the tour and release an album and all the rest of it. And so suddenly all these other creatives are brought in. So take that idea, take the sort of This Is Spinal Tap idea, add in, really, the thick of it, that sort of observational documentary about politics, The Office too, and you've got that sort of whole fourth wall thing. We're invited to accept the fact that we're there as the documentary film crew. It's done a little bit, but it's not done as overtly as in things like The Office, where people are really looking at the camera. They're just, every now and then, you're just reminded that actually you're in a privileged position filming this ongoing tour, this ongoing recording of rehearsals for this great big concert and all the rest of it. So you're very much, as the viewer, embedded within the entourage that surrounds Charli XCX. And actually, in no small way, I was reminded massively, if anyone saw that series, which was much maligned, I thought, but there was a lot to like about it, the weekend series, The Idol, on HBO Max with Lily Rose Depp. One of the best parts, I thought, of that series was the stuff around her sort of pop stardom, and the entourage that surrounded her, the agent, the manager, the label, all the rest of it, the designer. That was where I thought it was at its best. And in a weird way, this film is all of those things too. So you've got to bear with me. I know nothing of Charli XCX. I didn't even know she was British. I didn't realise she was from Essex. And in following this classic mockumentary trajectory, you get to know Charli XCX. One thing I would say about her is she's obviously very willing to have a laugh at herself. She's very willing to send herself up. She's into and up for looking at the inherent absurdity of both the business, but also her music. And really, if there was a kind of statement at the back of this film, I think this whole film really was Charli XCX's kind of scream, if you like, at the industry to say, just because Brat, whatever Brat was as a concept, as a movement, as an album, as a thing, Brat Summer, however successful it was for everyone else, she wants to move on from it. And I think really this film, you could argue that although this is a piss take, although it's a mockumentary, although it's meant to be funny and it's a send-up, it is also actually a finger up at the very institution and industry she is now currently a part of. It doesn't take a huge leap to see why artists like Amy Winehouse and countless other artists really come off the rails when they feel controlled and managed and manipulated and overproduced. And really that is what this film is about in no small part. Stylistically, this is really very, very, you can tell it's hip. The film starts with a strobe warning. So before you go to the cinema, if you have any inclination or tendency towards epilepsy, Be careful, don't see it, look down, look away. But even the kind of interstitials, as you kind of get sort of different chapters of the film, they're scratched on screen. I like all that. I love all that. You can't get too adventurous for me. It's the bright colours are coming up all the time, and it's just like, wow, it's in your face. I mean, I saw it in an absolutely not a single spare seat in the cinema, central London. I mean, admittedly, it wasn't a massive screen at the screen, but it was sold out. It was hot, it was vibey, everyone was up for a good time, everyone was laughing hysterically. I swear to God, everyone was on drugs, and the only one who wasn't was me, and I wanted some, if I'm brutally honest. So stroby madness, stylistic, very fast edited, a real sense of a young woman trapped within, if you like, the corporate maelstrom of the music business. I want to give a shout out to, some of you guys will know him, the actor Demetriou. He's from things like Stath Lets Flats. He was also in Fleabag. He plays her agent, manager. He's forever and a day. He's just forever like, you know, things are kicking off and he's like forever in his phone, and he's kind of using the phone to sort of escape. And it's an absolute top draw performance from Jamie Demetriou as her agent, the manager, who's kind of trying to get her out of ever more complicated holes. He's the one who has to break the news to her that she's going to be directed by Johannes, who's this director played by Alexander Skarsgård. She's like, she doesn't want to be directed by him. She feels like he's not the right fit for her. Poor old Tim, played by Jamie Demetriou, he's trying to kind of steer everything in the right direction, doing that thing that, this is one of those films that is brilliant for anyone who works in showbiz, or anyone who's worked in TV, works in film, works in music, has any relationship with kind of showbiz or kind of fame or celebrity. You get that real sense of, you know, the stress and that world of kind of the artiste and all of the lackeys and all of the support staff and all the support team that surround them and the rest of it. You know, the pretentiousness. Everyone is trying to make out their job is more important than the next person's job. You know, you've got a number of characters in this who are the sort of A&R team, the sort of producers of the tour, who are kind of trying to say, that was my idea and I pitched this. And, you know, you've got Rosanna Arquette in there as the kind of ball-breaking, takes no shit, kind of seen it all, long in the tooth, you know, music exec. So there's an awful lot to like about this. The energy of it is great. It's fizzy, it's energized, it's cocaine fueled. And as I understand it, Charli XCX isn't at all afraid to talk about her use of drugs and narcotics in her life. As I say, I think if it had one big structural issue, it's Charli. I don't know I suppose none of us know what Charli XCX is actually like in her real life, but I couldn't help but feel that Charli was playing it very close to, if not who she is, certainly who she wants us to think she is. So then the scope for comedy around Charli seemed to be less options for that. A lot of the comedy was happening in, say, Alexander Skarsgård's character, in the entourage, in the lunacy of what Rosanna Arquette and the production company and the label wanted her to do. You know, the lunacy is parked all around Charli XCX, but I couldn't help but feel that Charli herself was playing it quite straight. I mean, she had a sense of amusement. She didn't mind playing the moments where she was obstreperous or a bit deceitful, like she said, I'll send an email, but then doesn't send an email to help out someone she's working with. Or, yeah, I promise I'll say something about that to make life easier for someone else who's working for her, but she doesn't send the email and all the rest of it. So I think she was willing to go that far, but I couldn't help but feel this was very, you know, she was very close to what she is, and I couldn't help but, there was a tension for me throughout watching this of me thinking, perhaps we needed her to be more horrible, or perhaps we needed her to be more rubbish, or more temperamental, or something. I don't know. You know, a great mockumentary works when everything in it is mocking everyone in it and every part of the industry or process that you're showing. And she, I felt, came out of the whole film the least mocked, in a sense, if you know what I mean. And so because of that, I wasn't entirely sure where her performance started, because the girls have asked me things, they haven't seen it, like, was she a good actor in it? And I'm like, well, that's really hard to say, because I don't know how much of it she was just playing straight. I don't know how much of it she was just being what she would have been like in many of these scenarios, which I'm sure have played out, where she's doing a Zoom call in the back of a car, going from one airport to another airport, talking to some muppet of a director who's got visions for her music, and she's like, oh no. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how much of that was just, she could just play that for straight. And so I wondered in that sense whether her narrative arc needed to be less straight, and perhaps she needed to fall apart a bit more, or something more dramatic needed to happen to her, something more dramatic than just her passing through the inherent lunacy of what I would have thought all the people that she comes across in her day-to-day life are probably not entirely dissimilar to this. You know, you've got all those classic setups in this, like photo shoots, style shoots where she's having to wear ridiculous things, do ridiculous things. There's a wonderful moment where she's waiting in a car and an Uber driver or one of her limousine drivers is asking her who she is. He doesn't know who she is. What's your name again, love? And he searches her on Google and he says, oh right, yeah, I know someone who does music like, you know what I mean? That sort of thing that celebrities and famous people get. I think for anyone who's like Nads, who's got fame, I think there'll be many aspects of this that really ring true. They certainly rang true for me, just being part of that support network of telly, of the media, where there's, you know, where forever and a day, rightly or wrongly, you know, celebrities are held in high esteem and everyone has to pussyfoot around them. It really throws a spotlight on that. What I would say is this film has some really spectacular standout set pieces. One of them, I have to say, possibly the most notable, is at a point that's the least appropriate, incredibly disruptive, entirely inconsiderate to all of the support team around her. And I suppose in this sense you could argue, well, this was Charli XCX behaving like a prima donna. She heads off to Ibiza for a 4-day trip to go to a sort of spa retreat. And so in that sense, yeah, maybe I'm correct in my thoughts there. Maybe she does kind of, maybe she's so not like that was an extravagance that she would never have indulged in herself. Maybe that was a caricature. Maybe that was an extremity that she's just not like in real life. So she drops the whole, they've got 2 weeks till the big tour, two weeks till the big performance. It's going to be filmed and directed by Alexander Skarsgård, who plays Johannes. I have to say, Alexander Skarsgård presents in this remarkably like Jim Carrey. It's like he is playing Jim Carrey, playing a director. I mean, he even looks like Jim Carrey, and his body movement and everything about him. He's pretentious, he's self-interested, he's arrogant, he's misogynistic. He's been put there by Rosanna Arquette, the head of the music label, to make her whole concert and the tour video more family friendly for Amazon to be able to screen it. So it's all about diminishing and lessening and making more parentally friendly the whole Charli XCX brat summer vibe. But there's this one scene, as I say, where she goes off on this inappropriate trip to a spa retreat in Ibiza, and she goes into this room and has this treatment. And all I can say is the masseuse, or the woman coming in to deliver whatever the treatment is, whether it's kind of Reiki or energy or whatever, she's not only quite scary to look at, though I felt she was someone quite famous that I didn't know who. At one point I thought is that Beatrice Dow? But anyway, she was sort of like quite an older woman, and she had these incredible eyes, and in the end, basically, it's such an elitist kind of spa retreat. The treatment, the woman given the treatment, says she's not good enough for her. She says that Charli XCX isn't ready for the treatment, so she throws Charli XCX out, which I thought was incredibly funny. And in being thrown out, Charli XCX then inadvertently and candidly bumps into Kylie Jenner. Again, a curious moment here, played for real. Kylie Jenner obviously got a sense of humour, playing herself, talking about the treatments, talking about, you know, the extent to which Charli XCX has made a name for herself for doing the kind of brat thing. And you've got brilliant, they keep cutting back and forth between Kylie Jenner's almost kind of AI perfection, cross-cutting it against big close-ups of Charli XCX with no makeup on, and, you know, her lips are red and she looks like her skin's kind of a bit greasy, and, you know, it's a very unvain performance by Charli XCX. She doesn't mind how she's shown, she doesn't mind how she looks. I mean, she's beautiful, but she's really keen and willing to throw herself under the bus visually and pictorially. I mean, another person who plays himself as well in the film is Rachel Sennott. She was in Shiva Baby, she was in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. She's fast becoming one of my favourite young female American actresses. She is sensational in this. She sort of plays a fictionalized version of herself. And in one of the earlier scenes when they're all taking drugs, they're cracking out lines of cocaine in the bathroom, in the girls' toilet, you know, Rachel Sennott comes in and she's kind of like, oh, hi Charli, connect us. What's going on with this camera crew? And she sort of, you know, breaks the fourth wall and all the rest of it. They're all taking drugs. She's like, there's a great exchange between Charli and Rachel Sennott where she says to Rachel Sennott, look, you know, what was happening back there? We had to spend tens of hundreds of thousands on airbrushing you when you guessed it in my video. And lots of kind of in-jokes about how some celebrities need to look more perfect than anyone else and the cost of that to people. That was kind of fun. That was another one of the kind of set pieces which I really liked. It was really brilliantly covered. It was really intense. It felt like a real nightclub scene. The authenticity of that felt really, really grabby and sort of vibey. And I mean, you know, the director has clearly got a firm grasp on the cultural mores of shot, sequence, lighting. It's a furtive camera fidgeting around candid side, you know. And if you've got to bear in mind that, you know, this camera is also a documentary camera too. It manages to stay stylish at the same time. And so in a weird way, like I said earlier, a lot of what was good about this film was what I found great about The Idol. The entourage concept, the assistants, the PR team, liked all of the interplay between all of them. That was really, really rich. The gaggle of business madness and comedy. The agent, as I say, Tim, was absolutely brilliant, played by Demetriou. There's the kind of subplot of the fact that tied in with her Brat tour and the Brat album is that she's also signed up to promote a bank's Brat credit card, which kind of, there's some funny exchanges about how it's only a Brat credit card for gay people, and they're like, well, how the fuck do you qualify? How do you make sure, how do you apply for it and then just say, oh yeah, come on, why doesn't everyone just say they're gay? Anyways, the whole business marketing plan for the Brat MasterCard, if you like, or credit card goes completely wrong, and then this whole sort of subplot develops, which I didn't think really worked that well, of fraud happening, and the bank almost goes bankrupt, and then the whole fucking tour becomes cost ineffective. I mean, it is a film about the towering stupidity of an industry that tries to do more and more extraordinary things, develop more and more original ideas, and in so doing, it not only kills the original creativity, the whole fucking kit and caboodle of the whole tour, the music, the brand, the artist implodes, and it all falls apart. If there was a problem I had with the film in general, it was the fact that really, even by the end of the film, Charli XCX, there was a need even for Charli XCX to emerge from this kind of unscathed. I felt like I could have done with her throwing herself under the bus in pursuit of the mockumentary a little bit more. I felt she could be more brutal, more darkly motivated. Yes, she heads off at the wrong time. Yes, she throws her friend who usually looks after the visuals in her gig. She throws her friend under the bus. But there's even there's a really long protracted sort of section where she phones in or sends an email apologising, and that's all to make good. I just felt she didn't need to make good. There's also a sort of soliloquy at one point where Charli XCX is talking about her creative vision and what she's about and who she is. And it didn't need to go serious. I think this was at its best when it was at its least serious. And I think it maybe had a little bit of nervousness crept into the project towards the end, where perhaps the filmmakers, perhaps even the same pressures that the film's telling us about, namely her label, her record label, her PR team, whatever, the producers of the film even didn't want to completely throw her under the bus because they were worried that maybe people would think that's what she was actually like. So maybe they kind of had to pull their punches so people didn't think she was just nasty, because some people can forget that actually people are playing people. But I kind of felt that Charli XCX needed to play a more extreme version of herself, and I felt she kind of only nibbled at the edges of being a sort of badly behaved rock star. So in essence, at the end of the day, whilst I found it visually incredibly entertaining, some of the scenes laugh out loud for sure, absolutely laugh out loud. Sometimes a bit baggy, a bit samey. Alexander Skarsgård was good, but I felt he overcooked the part. As I say, it was like watching him impersonate Jim Carrey, impersonate an overzealous director. As the whole kind of credit card malfunction thing kicked off, I didn't buy into that. I didn't believe it. It wasn't convincing. If I was to kind of give this film a note, if I was an executive producer giving it a note, to quote Tropic Thunder, they kind of, and I'm using the term as used in Tropic Thunder, they needed to go full retard on this. They didn't go full retard enough. They went towards mockumentary, but they kind of came back from the edges of it. And I felt they got to 8, and in true This Is Spinal Tap fashion, I think they really needed to take this in mockumentary terms to an 11 or even to a 12. And I think they might have got a much more complete result. All of that said, for a guy who's not plugged into her music, doesn't know I liked her, I came out of it liking her. I'm not entirely sure I should have come out of it liking her if it was a successful mockumentary, but I did. I liked Charli XCX. She was very watchable, very engaging. I liked her support entourage. There was a lot to enjoy in that way that The Thick of It and The Office is quite fun to enjoy. If I was to score this as a film, I'd probably give it 75 out of 100.